constitutionalism. This is what they have been asking again and again, and it has been asked 4 or 5 times in off lately. After 2017, I guess they started is asking it, and in out of 8 9 years, they have asked this 4 or 5 times. So constitutional basically means that there is a document, and there is a document which governs our governance system, which governs our political system, how the state is to be run, and how the state will exercise its power, how it will be limited, by various forces. Okay. Then all these powers are established by this particular document, constitution. And this document was framed after our freedom struggle, and it gained legitimacy after cabinet mission, and constitutional assembly, and all that stuff we will do in this making constitution chapter. First of all, let you should have a basic idea ki we have a written document, and this written document is very elaborate in nature, and it establishes all the institutions that are required to run the democratic structure, the democratic nature of the India, and to maintain the democratic polity, democratic character. All the institutions, for example, UPSC, CAG, Supreme Court, okay, EC, election commissions, or many institutions. For example, it also establishes three organs of the state: legislature, executive, judiciary. And similarly, it also establishes the government at the central level and the state level also. All of these things, constitution is there to establish the institutions. And here, after establishing the institution, it empowers them, it gives the powers to them. And all the institutions are deriving their power from the constitution itself. And this is the fundamental feature of our federal polity also, because the states do not derive their power from the center, unlike the USA, unlike the other countries, where they share the relationship. But in India, states have the independent existence, they derive their power from the constitution itself. Hence they have a very independent existence. So constitution will establish the institutions, it will empower them, it will give the power to them to exercise all the democratic functions of the polity. Then it will also limit them. Fundamental thing is, first it will empower, it will establish them, then it will give them the power, then it will limit them. And how those powers will be limited, will be covered in this fundamental rights chapter. And the DPSP also have some limitations on the powers of the various organs. And the fundamental rights also have this limitation powers. Okay. So all those will be limited to ensure that the power which is being offered to all these institutions, they are not exercised for to become a totalitarian or the authoritarian country, and to maintain the democratic nature of the Indian polity. So this is what the constitution is all about. Power is given to them, and it is limited by all the various different methods. Then what does Indian constitution consist of? First part is that it is a written part. In 1950, 26 January 1950, we finally uh, adopted this constitution, and got it enforced. So that was the original written part of the constitution. Second thing which is there in the constitution is the unwritten part. Unwritten part means, for example, the conventions and all, for example, which we borrowed from the British constitution. For example, in constitution, it is nowhere written that we will be having three sessions for this parliament, है ना? It is written that the gap between the two sessions should not be more than six. So it is a convention, it is based on the heuristics that or based on the conventions that we have been following the British rule, because they were there when they colonized us. So we have borrowed most of the things from their political structure. Then similarly, the office of the speaker and deputy speaker, they will be from the different parties. Similarly, no confidence motion, it has never nowhere been mentioned in the constitution. So first part is the written part, second part is the unwritten part, third part will be the interpretations part. Interpretations means ki as per article 132, Supreme Court is having the supreme power to interpret the constitution, and those interpretations are very progressive in nature. And for example, article 21, in Olga Telly's case, they gave the right to this livelihood. And then various interpretations have been given: right to speedy trial, right to this right to sleep, right to privacy, etc., etc. More progressive and more liberal interpretation have been given to our constitution. And similarly, not only with respect to the fundamental rights, every part of the constitution has been given this the progressive interpretation. For example, the tussle between Delhi lieutenant governor and this Delhi government, है ना? Then similarly, with respect to the federal units between the state and center, between the two states. For example, when there is a tussle between center and state. For example, there was a tussle during the GST compensation issue, or this problem of Ayushman Bharat, है ना? All these things where, or latest of lately, this the Tamil Nadu governor was sitting over the bills. So Supreme Court gave the guidelines that you have to clear these bills in this specific timelines. Then our honorable president asked the Supreme Court that no, it is nowhere written in the constitution. How can you give that? How can you give these guidelines of being in the timely nature? And all these things. So what exactly do those technical jargons, or that technical language mean? What does that technical language mean is left to the Supreme Court of India, and it will interpret it in a progressive manner or in the dynamic manner. That is why our constitution is called as a living document and the social document. As social document, living document means it is accommodating the dynamicity of the society. Social document means it is giving effect to the social democracy as well, and not only the political democracy. Then this the fourth part of the constitution is that the various amendments that are being done to all these three parts. For example, Supreme Court interpreted that there should be Supreme Court gave the guidelines to the parliament that there should be a committee for this election commission selection, and for Anu Baranwal case specifically. So now after that, Parliament will bring on the new legislature and all. So they will bring on the amendments and all. Similarly, this GST amendment bill was uh, brought in to change the fundamentals, to change the federal structure, and to change that federal structure, we needed this assent of the states also. We'll cover that part in later part, but you should have a fundamental understanding what does constitution consist of, and what are the functions of constitution. These are three functions of constitution basically, and these are the four parts which constitution actually consists of. And there have been many amendments. More than 100 has been done. I think 106 is the latest one. Okay. Then we know that it is a living document. So if you ever seen the statement in the prelims that is giving the progressive interpretation, progressive realization of the rights, then generally it is true. Why? Because we are accommodating the dynamicity of the nature of our constitution, and we are being a progressive in nature, and we are working towards establishing social and economic democracy, and not only the political democracy. I guess I am able. You people are able to hear me. Everything is fine, na? Just tell me everything is fine, na? Then we'll continue. Okay, okay, okay. Nice. So this is what is it. Then the second thing is since our constitution is supreme law. No other law is supreme to the constitution. No written document is supreme to the constitution. Constitution is supreme. Even the judiciary's interpretation does not stand valid if the constitution has written something. And even judiciary is below the constitution. Okay. In USA, judiciary may be above the constitution because judiciary is having the supreme rights. But in Indian case, I will cover this in the special features. Ki we are neither having the judicial supremacy completely, neither the parliamentary sovereignty. We are having the balance of this. So in Indian case, we have the very powerful judiciary, but still it is having limitations due to the constitution. So we can say that our constitution is a supreme law. Nobody is above this law. Whatever has been written in the constitution, that will be considered as a final. And what all things will be considered as final, that is a part of basic structure. The other thing can be changed through the amendments, but the basic structure of the constitution, what is the basic structure? For example, what are the skeleton key? That is what I call as a skeleton key, na? Ki there is some skeleton to the entire structure, hai na? For example, we are humans, hai na? We have a skeleton. We have a skeleton made of this क्या नाम है bodies, है ना? So those skeleton cannot be altered. If we alter the skeleton, then the entire structure will change. We can change the blood, we can change the flesh, we can change the quantity of the blood, we can change the amount of the flesh, we can change the color of the flesh, we can change the color of the blood. Anything we can do, but we cannot change the skeleton of a human body. Similarly stands with the basic structure doctrine. We will not be able to change the basic structure. That is what is the limitation on the judiciary also, and that is also limitation on this parliament also. There is a fundamental thing that constitution assembly decided on the basis of their long struggle of freedom struggle. So we cannot change that part. That is why our constitution is supreme law. And second thing is, it is an organic law. Organic law is or it is, this argument is in sync with this living document, that first of all, it establishes the organs that are organic in nature. For example, legislature cannot function without executive, executive cannot function without legislature. Similarly, the judiciary cannot function without other two, and all the organs, all the institutions are dependent on each other. They cannot function independently. And so that is why constitution is said to be an organic law. In this first context is that it establishes the organic linkage between the institutions. Second thing is that it provides the dynamicity to our it adds the dynamicity to the constitution by incorporating the dynamic aspects, the incorporating the progressive or the liberal ideas that are ongoing in the India or across the world. Then second thing it also gives us is that it defines the relationship between the government and the citizens. That is that this relationship is what is the basis of this constitutionalism. And this constitutionalism acts as a basis for this relationship, because government is also limited by the rights of citizens, and citizens are also limited by the powers of the government. So both have a very unique relationship, and that relationship is known as the citizenship.